Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I am your host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest. Of course, you may know her from Impact, aka TNA Wrestling. She is, of course, a singer, songwriter, actress. I mean, she does it all. She is Goldylocks. Goldie, welcome in. How you doing?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited that we connected, John. You're such a cool, chill dude. I always appreciate your interview.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. What's going on in
Yeah.
your world? What are you up to? I feel like you're so busy right now.
Yeah, but that's good, right? You always
Yeah.
ask, you gotta be careful what you wish for, right? That's what I always my mom used to always say that, but it's in such a good way. Yeah, great stuff. I put down on the new single that's out. You know what? Instead of waiting till the end of the pod, hitting it right out of the right off the
Yes.
bat,
Yes.
just because I was just on the phone with Mickie James. We're putting together like a really cool 90-minute show that we are gonna pitch to a lot of the different wrestling conventions, and we would love to come, sing the hits, the country hits, the rock hits, John. And then God, she's got so many great entrance songs. And then I wrote and sang on so many great entrance songs, and we'll play those for people that support wrestling. It would be really fun. But check out the new single that she's on, hot and steamy, Mickie James. It's called I Didn't Know. And we're just telling everybody to stream it and download it. And you know what? Leave a YouTube comment that you saw me on your show and cross promote with you, John. That would be amazing. So that's what's going
Yeah.
on. Just exciting stuff.
So how did that happen with Mickey? How did that all come about?
It came about by me starting to write some song. And then I was like, I had a hook kind of in my head, and I was like, what's this about? I didn't know. Okay. And then I was like, oh yeah, I didn't know that the guy that I was into was married or having an affair. And I was like, all right, that's been done a million times. Like, what kind of spin can you put on that? I'm like, you know what? Let's make it into a duet. So we'll take the lyrics and we'll cut them in half, and then I'm going to sing this version. And then I didn't know the other person sings that version. It's her perspective. And then I was like, who would be more perfect than Mickie James? So I just decided in my head that Mickie was going to do this. And I just kept bugging the hell out of her. Like, you've been messaging me, and I'm like, I'm going to meet you. I'm going to meet you. I'm going to meet you. And finally, God, she's always in Paris and Japan and like everywhere, halfway around the world. I met her. We met at, I think it's called like Kick-Ass Coffee Shop or something like that. And somewhere in Tennessee. And I just told her, like, you're going to sing the song. I think you should do it. I know you should do it. And you know what? She didn't even hear the song. She's like, I'll do it. And then we went out to the car, and I was like, thank God that I played it and she actually liked it, because if it sucked, that would have been bad news. But she was just such a great sport, John, and just was like sight unseen. And then I was like, we need to get some rappers on this. Let's get like another feature. And then lo and behold, the Lax country music legends, they signed on. Getting them to do it, woo, that was a big deal. And then once people say they're going to do it, it's another thing to like wrangle them in like cats or cows out to pasture. Like, okay, you're going to do this. And then they actually sent their flow. They emailed what they did in the studio. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is badass. It's so good. John, you got to go listen to it. It's so good. Like, everybody did such a freaking great job on it. And then the video is just next level epic. We're all in the rain, and it's a total eye candy video, but everybody just kicked it out of the park. So now we're just really enjoying promoting it and creating some really cool package shows at these conventions or wherever that Mickie and I will share the stage. Let her do some country hits. I'll do some rock hits. And then we'll both do entrance songs that you've heard, known, and love, and great limited edition merch and just really cool stuff. And then we'll get together and sing I Didn't Know together. So it'll be just perfect.
Love that. Love that idea. That's a great idea. And
It's
obviously,
fun.
combine wrestling with music. It's perfect.
I love it.
When Mickie agrees to do this, did you know her obviously from wrestling, but did you ever work together in wrestling?
Oh God, yes. Like the
early days TNA?
Early days, horrible, heinous promos. Like, if you go dig up some of those, like, it was hardcore. Like, she was at my throat. Like, they're the most literally hardcore promos that you would ever see. Like, it's bad news. And what's beautiful about it is, like, that would never fly today. Like, the stuff that she said to me or that I said back, we would both cancel each other out. And it was so lovely that before this era that we're in right now, I'll just leave it at that, when you could just be raw and real with people and say what was on your mind. And if you got your feelings hurt, tough shit, and you just settle it in the ring or out of the ring or wherever with a concussion but man, she was hardcore with me and we went at it. And the only regret that I have, John, is that, and we say this all the time, is I wish that I would have been a closer friend to her sooner. We're not like super close friends or anything, but definitely colleagues and I would say friend, which I'm honored to, but I just missed the boat on a lot of people. My head was just up. I say it all the time. My head was just so far up my arse back then that I just didn't know if it bit me in my butt. I wouldn't know. I was just busy with the wrong, just doing the wrong things. The priorities were wacky dack back then. So I wish I would have known her earlier because she's just a really freaking cool kid woman. I met her at church a couple weekends ago. I went to her church down the way and it was really cool. And with her kid, Donovan, and it was just a great time. Like I'm Catholic, so it's very different than the kind of service I'm used to, but I was totally open to it. And they were very loving and accepting. And it was just nice to go try something else other than my boring Catholic church down the block. It was really fun.
Was it a Methodist church?
No, I don't. It was just like some free denomination of Christian. And it was beautiful. Like they had like just stuff that, you see like in movies where it's just very different than what I grew up on or the Lutheran stuff that I went to. Just very different, but beautiful music and wonderful service and, people coming to the altar at the end and being saved. And it was cool, like you should never knock anybody else's stuff. Like I go to Jewish temples, Indian temples, and I don't know what they're saying necessarily. And I don't know their prayers or their rituals, but I go and I have respect and appreciate that somebody thought enough of me to invite me to their world, unless it gets real weird, which we all know what I'm talking about. I did move from LA and that kind of stuff. Like, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to that, which is like that. That's not at all what I went to. There's some weird shit in LA. Really, really, really weird stuff. So you can smell it a mile away and you just politely say you're busy that day and let them go drink the blood of unborn children. Whatever they do, whatever freaky shit they're into. That's not my jam. But like I said, I've been to a lot of different churches and temples. And I just think it's cool that anybody gets up off their butt on a Sunday and worships whomever. I'm more power to them.
Funny, I just went to Florida a few months ago. My buddy, I was the godfather for his daughter.
Nice.
And the church there, I was like, this is different than my normal boring Catholic church that I went to. They're singing. You have like an actual band, like with like professional musicians, like with actual guitar. Like what? I said, where did this come from? And then all of a sudden, these people are here like singing the song, and they're like, everybody get up. And like I was like, wow, this is like actually like makes you want to go to church. Like this is exciting. Yeah.
I can see why her son always wants to go and never wants to miss because it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, I was like, man, if this was like the way it was for me when I was a kid, man, I would probably be looking forward to like going to church. This is the Catholic church is very boring. Like, and then the priest is going to say his sermon, and he's going to be very serious. My lesson for today, and then he's going to tell you, and very boring. That's a great church she's got down there.
Yeah, I love that. That's great, and that's really nice to. It's just great to hear positive things. And a lot of those churches do a lot of great things for the community. And not to beg completely on the Catholic Church, I've had some amazing priests. And I guess you wouldn't say pastor, that's a different religion, but amazing priests. And then unfortunately, I don't understand this, but they have all passed. And man, they gave some powerful homilies, was what we would always call them. Powerful and insightful. There was one priest in the inner city where I grew up that the guy was caught. Okay. Not what you would think. Like when I say that word, you automatically go like, Catholic stuff that we don't need to repeat. And that's every religion. It's not just Catholic. It's just, we get a bad rap and more people hear about our stuff. But this guy was like literally caught. The housing that he had ropes going like every 4 feet, every 5 feet. He had ropes being tied and he was screwing into the walls, these dividing ropes and then dividing those, then going to the thrift store, getting sheets and running through the sheets, running like a pipe casing and making dividers. And the guy literally was bringing homeless people in off the street and dividing them into little rooms and sharing the small quarters that even he had at the inner city church rectory with, I think he had 8, 9, 10 homeless people that were good people that just either were schizophrenic or had mental health issues, or, I mean, that's dangerous enough, but like he opened his entire, until they finally said like, you can't be doing this. And he's like, well, who's going to take care of him then? But I was like, man, that guy really walked the walk in so many, and like his homilies, he was like cutting a promo on everybody. It was like, you know what? You think you're this, you think you're that. Like, what are you really doing to be a Christian? Like, who are you really helping? What poor are you really feeding? Who are you ministering to? Like, he walked the walk. He was a really, really, I'm sure he was as gay as the day. And I don't think he was doing any harm to people, or, you know, how you hear about things later on where you're like, this guy was just pure gold. And I don't understand why he had to go. Like, he was just the best sermons, best homilies. And I just think to this day, like, God, why'd you take that one? Like, he was really, really spreading your word and walking the walk. So that's the only thing about religion that hurts me sometimes, is I don't have a reason, not excuse. Is it a reason? A reason why bad things happen to good people. That still bugs me. I don't understand that.
We'll never get that. Yeah, that's one of the weird things of life. It's like, well, always the good people.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Opposite of how it should be.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, I did get to go to her church. Great positive experience. And it sounds like the one that you went to for your godchild was too. So yay.
Yeah. So positive experience now, which is great for these churches. But as far as wrestling, right? I mean, obviously, like you said, you know Mickie from wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Why and how did you get into the wacky world of wrestling? Because that's kind of one of the weird things, right? Of like getting into the business.
I got in, and I have been bugging a couple people at TNA to say, hello, here I am. Like, I so want to get back into it. I'm lobbying. I've had great conversations with Billy Corgan. Like, I just really want to be back in it now that I know and understand all of the things that I didn't, hindsight. And now I've got it. And I'm like, I want to go back and like retell some stories or connect some dots or tell somebody else's story or somebody up and coming story, and maybe dwindle it intertwine it into something that happened with me or a storyline from the past, especially TNA. I would love to come back to. I got in because the lawyer that I had was the Jarrett's lawyer. And I thought I got in on my own merit, but I got in because she basically just pressured them and said, look, if you want me to close this deal with you and help you, then you got to take this girl that I'm working with. And you know what? That's how it works with everything. Everything's nepotism, or who you know, or who you this or who you that. And I was very grateful to this woman for just believing in me and pushing so hard. She was hardcore, and just saying like, we're gonna make this happen. So I'm forever grateful to her, forever.
Did you know the Jarretts at all, or did you know wrestling at all kind of before you decided to jump? Oh,
nothing at all. They were looking for a fresh face. She heard that and she pushed for it. And, I didn't necessarily end on good terms with her because there was a bunch of bad shit that happened when I was in TNA. And I was scared to say stuff. And I thought if I spoke up, that if I did, everything would have gone to shit. And that's in Jarrett, the late Jerry Jarrett's autobiography. Like, he did say, like, if Goldie would have blown the whistle on some of the things that were going on, like, we would have terminated, like, that their funding would have been gone. And I didn't. And they told me to look the other way and that it wouldn't happen again. And the sexual harassment stopped because Jarrett and whomever, Bob Ryder, they had their ways of making things stop. Very unconventional. Same as like many casinos get things to stop, and high rollers are rewarded. And, we won't get into details, but it's very Vegas, very, just sweep it under the rug kind of help. But they did, and the harassment stopped. And so I think to this day, like I've said this on other podcasts, like when I walked into different fuel stations and I saw like a life-size AJ Styles or a life-size CM Punk, like pushing some promo for some product, I just thought, you know what? I may not have continued in wrestling the way that I wanted to. I got fired because of, we all know who got me fired, whatever, water under the bridge. I have no heat with Abyss for getting me canned, whatever, to each his own. I think everything happens for a reason, but I would have liked to have continued. I would like to have been more popular or more famous in that realm than I had. But you know what? I shut my mouth, and a lot of other people who really deserved to be superstars in the wrestling business. If I would have blown. And then if my lawyer would have gotten wind of like this shit, I mean, she would have sued for millions. I probably would be really rich and the promotion would be done. And none of these people would have necessarily had, maybe they would have gone on to WWE or other AEW. Maybe, you never know. But they really did become superstars through TNA. That was their conduit. And I'm glad that they did. So I have no regrets or no remorse for not saying this is happening to me and this person's doing this and this and that. And it's never the boys. Like the boys have always been 1,000% respectful to me. I have nothing to say. Even Abyss that got me fired. Like I could never say, oh, this guy did this to me or sexually abused me or this or that. I can't. All those guys just treated me like gold. They really did. So very blessed for that.
When you look at like the wrestling business in a whole, like, you know, you say like no regrets, but it is like a weird business. You know what I mean? Like if from an outsider going in, like, what am I doing? I'm doing a promos with this guy, right? I mean, it's like a kind of a hard thing for somebody that doesn't really know it to wrap their head around. Like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I'm glad that I had that experience, though. It helps me in everyday life, like beyond compare. Like there is nothing like live sports entertainment. Red button on. You better get your shit right. You better have your stats right, even if you don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, wait, got something in my ear. Oh, you've changed everything. Everything's changed. You think you had it down, and it's like pants shitting feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to walk out here and not know what I'm talking about and look like a complete idiot. And that's a lot of people's fear. That's where a lot of people's fear of being in public or being on stage comes from is, am I going to look like an idiot? Well, I looked like one all the time. And a really great skill set that you can achieve is looking like a complete idiot and still feeling okay about yourself at the end of the night, because there were so many times that I looked so stupid or they would just rag on me, whatever. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They don't know that I had everything down pat and was perfectly ready to execute. And then Vince Russo just comes and goes, we're the strike. We're not going to, it's 2 seconds before you go on. You're going to say this, what, who, what? Just go out there. You're going to interview somebody. Just go out there. Who am I interviewing? Like, just like, and then you hear at the last minute, you're interviewing Chris Rock or Roddy Piper, or like I would have liked to have been prepared or like had something educated to say, or at least Googled something so that I had something in my brain other than just go. And then you're in high heels and you're running down some ramp that's like a grid that you can get stuck in and fall and twist your ankle and break your leg. And then there's the pyro going off. Don't get that in your eyes or you'll be blinded for the next hour. You know, there's just so many things that people don't know about. But I think the most beautiful thing about wrestling is the promo and being able to speak. And it's like rapping or freestyle rapping when there's two people that do a battle and it's like you're just looking at the other person and you're feeding off of them and you're like, what can I insult them with? And how can I not only insult them, but how can I make it rhyme? And then how can I execute it and make it perfect and make it flow and make it into art and rhythm? And how can I just do that? And that's what live promo is like. I think live, sometimes you do better than ones that you have time to think about. If your adrenaline is really kicking in, I've got a friend that is in some trouble and he's facing possibly 60 years of prison, John. I believe him to be a good man. He's always treated me with respect, but man, he's getting canceled out. Somebody's making an example of him. They're blackmailing him. There's just all kinds of dirty stuff going on. And I don't even care if he is innocent or guilty. I have been getting just DM'd from major magazines and they sent a film crew out the other day. And I specifically didn't go read the details of his case or what he's being accused of. I didn't want to know. I was there to defend his character. Like, hey, and I didn't tell anybody about it because all anybody would say, I told a couple people earlier on when huge magazines are, be careful. Just, I don't want to hear about being careful. Too many people are just too careful. And then their friends go by the wayside because they're just too afraid to speak up for them. I'm like, what's going to happen to me? What are you going to do to me? Like, so I was really happy to defend it, but like we had a huge TV crew in here from the BBC and I was in promo mode, funny, articulate. I just pretended that, the red dot was on. It wasn't live, but I pretended that it was. And I just thought, just channel all the great things that you can say about this person, this colleague of yours, all the great things that he's done for you. Defend him, defend his honor, talk about his family, talk about his wife, talk about his kids, talk about how good he's been to me over the years. And that's what I do know. So when they would ask me a question about blah, 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 XYZ, fill in the blank, I'm like, you know what? I don't know about that, but what I do know about is so-and-so is this, and he is this, and he is that. And I pray to God that it helps him reduce his sentence or not even get one at all, because it's just, like I said, he's just being completely set up and it's just bullshit. So
Are you allowed to say who it is?
no, I won't say
Are you
who it
not?
is.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no, I appreciate you
Interesting.
asking.
Yeah,
No, it's too
now you
big
got
of a
me
deal.
intrigued. Yeah,
It's
okay.
very intriguing. It's very
Yeah.
intriguing, but nobody's saying shit because they're all just too afraid to say something. And I was always taught, because my mom was very Catholic, very Christian, and she was always like, you are just as guilty of the person that's bullying somebody or speaking out against them. You're just as guilty if you could defend them and you keep your mouth shut. And that, my late mom was just so wise. And that's just like, he is a really powerful man, and nobody will say anything in his defense because they're just too afraid that they'll be associated with this or that. I don't really care. Like, what are you going to associate me with? Like, the guy is a good guy, and there's a lot of stuff that people don't know that's cooking, and out of protection to them, I'm not going to say anything, and neither is the guy being accused, because some of the people in the pot and the mix are psychotic. They're sociopaths. You say one wrong thing against them, and they'll kill your family. Like, there's just people are crazy. There are people that wake up every day who are narcissists and sociopaths that will spend their entire existence trying to fuck you up or your family or your friends or anybody that you know. So there's just, again, it goes back to, there's always so much more behind the scenes that a person doesn't know about. Just be gentle, be kind, and cut people some slack. That person that cut you off on the road or this or that, you just don't know. Like, you don't know what people are dealing with. And these days, I just let people by, because half of them have guns and they'd shoot at me if I got mad or flipped them off or did the stop where like you would hit them from behind. Or I just get out of the way and think, if you're in that much of a hurry or that psychotic or that much of an asshole, then just get your energy away from me. So, but back to the wrestling promo. It's the greatest gift that I could have ever gotten. It's just something that and then these big, huge guys that you would do promos with, or they'd be Sandman would be like spitting on you, or Ken Shamrock. I think one step away from just, I have been slapped in the face and kicked and concussions and whatnot, and boo-hoo, that's what I signed up for. You know, it wasn't like I signed up to be a librarian. I signed up to be in pro wrestling. Like, shit or get off the pot. If you don't want to be in a world where there's going to be this, that, and the next thing, then don't take the gig. Don't take the gig.
And even some midgets too, right? I mean, Puppet and Tio. Remember those crazy guys?
Felt up by Puppet. I remember going to the airport and having him like do the yawn and then stick his hand on my boob. And I'm like, dude, come on. Like, oh, really? Did I just do that? I'm like, yeah, you just did that. If you did that again, I'm going to punch you in the head. Get your hand off me. You know, like, I mean, it was like Puppet. He was like a little person, and he was adorable and lovable, but he still was touching my boob. But I didn't like run to HR and go, oh my God, guess what happened at 5:30 in the morning, you know, in Orlando, going back to Nashville. I got touched in the boob. Like, whatever. Like, who didn't? There's always some crazy debauchery going on. And people the next morning at the airport, half awake and drunk or high and strung out on whatever. And you know, you'd hear about who they hooked up with the night before, and it was always like just no good. And you'd always look at them like, oh God, like, get some taste, get some class, have standards. Like, so many of them just like, oh, they're just hooking up with like anything that had a heartbeat or a pulse. I was just I was so repulsed, and I'd let them know, and we just give them shit. And it was just fun. It's a very, very different world. It's a very different world.
Well, remember that Dusty Rhodes promo about Puppet? He's like a midget beaten off in a trash can. Remember, he said that about that promo. So a lot of weird stuff was going on back there.
There was, and I didn't even know when he was in the trash can. Like, I had my lines and things that I was supposed to say, but I didn't pick up that he was masturbating. Right. I was so out of it that I didn't even know. Like, I would have reacted way differently had I known that. I just thought there was something. I don't know how I didn't pick up on that, because I've got a pretty filthy mind, and I didn't pick up on it. I reacted like I did, but at the time I was like, oh shit, that's what he was doing in there. Like, I just thought he was just in there hiding in a garbage can. I didn't know like he was doing the deed.
Right. And Dusty had to call that out. Like, what the hell is this guy doing here?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
Dusty was a funny guy. He was really, really cool to work with. I'm just so blessed that I got a chance to work with all these legends. Seriously.
Russo could have gave you the heads up, though, right? I mean, he could have said, hey, this is what's going to happen.
Nope. He purposely did a lot of stuff that he didn't tell us what was going on, or It was a big surprise for even me. Jarrett was big on the surprise. Nobody knew who was coming. It was a complete surprise because they got a genuine and authentic reaction from people. That's what's missing in pro wrestling today. Just a lot of the wild, wild west that I was privy to with TNA, with the Asylum years. It's just, we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what was going to go on. Every show was some big surprise. They just followed us around with a camera, and God knows what was going to happen. There was a lot of real bad shit going on, and they got it on camera, and people could have been killed. And I don't think anybody would have minded because it was just really raw and very real. I miss that. It's so produced these days. It wasn't when I was there. You never knew what was going to happen. No clue.
I remember when Piper showed up, Vince, you could tell, didn't know he was going to show up. Like, he was like shocked. And then obviously Piper says whatever he's going to say kind of off the cuff, but Vince was totally caught off guard, and he's the guy writing the show. So that was kind of crazy.
It was really, again, now that I look back and I'm like, now, that's why I want to be back in wrestling so badly, is because of those aha moments all these years later. That's been 22 years, and now I'm just finally like figuring it out. Like, oh, that's what that meant. Or, he was doing that. Like, I get it now. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that I don't get, but I know that I don't get them. So I'm open to knowing about, like, hey, what don't I get here? Like, I know to ask that question. Like, is there anything here? Like, I was just talking to Mickie about some details, and she said, I would leave that out unless somebody asked. And I was like, very well, like, no, noted. And, I got you, girl. So copy that. But it's just, it's great working with people that are seasoned and veterans, legends, and just learning from them and having no ego and being coachable and teachable so that you can learn some stuff. It's pretty cool.
And wrestling is so unique where sometimes it's live, sometimes you're recording stuff, but also you have to kind of nail it. It's not like, all right, well, let's take 10 takes. You're acting, but you got to nail it pretty succinctly.
That's what I said I loved about the live promo is just what that skill set taught me. I'm just so grateful for that.
That is weird because you can't really learn that, but you learn it on the job. You know what I mean? You learn it from the experience of doing it. It's like, man, this is a lot of pressure. Like you're saying, it might crap your pants. I mean, this is a lot of pressure. I got to nail this thing. We're live,
It is. And you can learn some things like that, but we all know, like, some people, like, if you look at like Macho Man, like where is he getting that stuff from? It's just it's so good. And like, obviously there are some people who deliver better promos because they're just a more intelligent person. You can say what you want, but there's some people are more intelligent. Like, if you wanted me to have a conversation right now with you about politics, I just don't really follow it enough. Like, I would sound ignorant and dumb. If you wanted me to talk about physics with you and math and things like that, I don't thrive at that. I don't even know that I would do a great job talking about music or artists, or I don't know that I would do, but I do know that if you gave me some information about physics, or if you gave me some information about some math or this or that, and you just said blah, 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 that I probably could do a very great job of spinning it into something that was bite-sized and digestible, that you might buy whatever product that we were spinning around it. You might purchase it. Like, that's what I'm good at. I'm shiny and commercial and can be very polished. And because of all of the commercials and movies and jingles and things that I've done throughout my life, that seasoned my skill set into being able to verbally sell something to you or verbally tell you a story, just because I'm animated and a little eccentric, and that's more interesting than if somebody just got in here and started talking about different math equations, or this is the way physics works. And it's just like, you'd fall asleep. Like we were talking about, like the church that we grew up in. It was just, there's nothing to stimulate you. But now with all the bells and whistles, like, oh my God, there's a band and there's this and there's that. And it's like, and you're paying attention. And then the message can be delivered in hopefully a package that a person can hear and utilize and use in their life. So
Did you know that public speaking, and this is an old Jerry Seinfeld joke too, but public speaking is the number one fear. Did you know that?
That's what we
People
kind
don't.
of
Yeah.
talked about in the beginning,
Yeah.
where I was like, the number one reason that public speaking is the number one fear is the number one reason. Yeah. No, the public speaking, the number one reason is because people are so afraid of looking stupid. And I've never been afraid of looking stupid. My self-esteem is too solid for that. I've always been a decent looking person. I made a lot of money since I was a kid, and they're not going to, unless you're like, now it's different. You could be a freak show and they'd pay you. But back in the day, like, you had to look a certain way or have a look or, a size that you were or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm that. I have that. I did nothing to receive that. That's my genes and how I was born. I can milk it. My mom was the recipient a lot of that money that I made. She was terminally ill and hospitalization insurance didn't cover everything. So the money that I made just went to supplement and keep her going. And I'm thrilled, and I would do it again. And like, that's where my money went. And I'm really happy that I looked a certain way and could take direction and be in commercials and movies and make money so that my mom could stay alive, like maybe 15 years, way longer than all of her brothers and sisters. Hell yeah. Like, we kept her going for a long time. I'm thrilled. Like, what a blessing. Like, that's what God said. Here, you're going to have this so that you can do this. And that's cool. That was a vehicle. So I know what I had. I know that I've done a good job with that. But I, not only did I have a look, I was very professional and I was a perfectionist and I wanted to do a great job where the other kids wouldn't. They'd want to screw up intentionally. So they would go over the time, and then the union would have to pay them time and a half. And then they would get that big chunk for that time. But I would go on and say, here, this is how this is going to go. I know that you have this much time a lot. And this is me like at 8 or 9. This is how much time we have. And the other kids are going to piss your time away because we all know the time and the half trick. We all know that. So I'm going to do this 3 times for you. The first time is going to be perfect. The second time I'm going to alternate it. And the third time is going to be a wild card so that you have just something else. And I would go on and I would read and I would do it in 3-take Goldie, 3 takes every single time. I would always, and they knew, like, this kid's going to come in here, a consummate pro. She's going to knock it out of the freaking park. She's going to get out of there early so that we've actually have time to like edit it. We'll be ahead of schedule. And therefore, because I was so long-term chess playing, that's how I thought. I got everything. I don't think there was anything that I auditioned for that I didn't get, because my reputation is this kid doesn't fuck around. Like, she's like, her mom is sick. She wants the money. And I mean, I remember getting checks for like $350,000, like, and having my dad be like, what is this? And it would be like, there was like, give them all a little pat of butter. There was like all these national jingles, and it would be the commercial. And then it'd be the person singing it and the person writing it, the person on the billboard, the person in those Sunday newspaper circulars that you'd open it up and there'd be an ad. And there I was. And it was like, it wasn't just one ad. It was like 7, 8, 9, 10 different branches of that ad. And it added up to be $250,000 or plus, like, many times. It was just, it was glory days, and I was untouchable, and nobody could screw with me at school because I made more money than any of those teachers in their lifetime. And I knew that, but I never used that as like, look at me. I always use it as like, I need to get to my job and I'd go in like curlers on my hair with a scarf. And like, some of the teachers, one in particular, called me in and like, sat me down and just like chewed me out and said, you're just very distracting to the other kids, and like tried to get me kicked out of school. And I was basically, I was in 10th grade because I could drive. I remember a letter just ripped me to shreds, and I never did it. I just had my curlers and my thing on, no different than a person with cancer going to radiation or chemotherapy. And maybe they want to do a half day at work or still show up for school with I didn't go, look at me. I just was doing my work. And I just remember this bitch. She was a student teacher, and she just frothing at the mouth. She just couldn't wait to tell some 16-year-old kid that how dare they, and she'd like to get me expelled, and I'm a distraction. And I just listened, John, and I listened, and I waited for her to be done. And then I asked her, are you through? Are you finished? And she said, yes. Do you have anything to say for yourself? I said, yeah, actually I do. I'm going to go get in my car, and I'm going to go drive to this job downtown Minneapolis at the Fauché Tower. And I'm going to go do a voiceover. And then tomorrow is going to be the commercial. And I'm going to make more money in these 2 days than you probably will 10 years teaching at this Catholic private school. So if you're through, I'm going to go now and make a shit ton of money and give it to my mom so that we can keep her, going. And by the way, which I reminded her, this school was given 5, another 2, and another 3. So $10 million back in the day. That was a lot. And it is now. $10 million given to the school to build up their art department and their theater department, all because a female benefactor saw me, yours truly, as a ninth grader in a play, crushing it, doing what I do. And so for the next 4 years, we were given like $10 million. And like I said, I was untouchable, because if anybody looked at me wrong, I'd be like, remember. So they knew. So I was maybe a B student. I graduated probably better than I should have, just because people were like, well, she brought us money and politics and whatnot. But man, don't have some student teacher come tell me, how dare I come to school in a scarf and rollers, when we all know I could just stay home, or I could just sleep in and then go to my gig. But I thought, I paid, it was like $15,000 a year for that school. I'm paying my own money, and I want to at least go catch 2 or 3 classes before lunchtime rolls around. Call time for me wasn't till later, maybe 11 or noon or something. I got time to drive downtown, park, get my curlers, get my thing. So there were a lot of haters with me in school, because I was making a lot of money and I was doing well. But like I said, I wasn't buying cars for myself and everything like that. Like, it literally all went to my mom's hospitalization. So a lot of people don't know that. Tit for tat.
Amazing.
I'm blessed that I had the opportunity to do that.
Where'd you get all that talent from? Seems like you're like a jack of all trades, but like you could sing, you could act.
Poor neighborhood, watching everybody do drugs, go downhill, and just think, what can I do to get out of here? I don't want this life. I don't want to end up dead like most of the kids in my 8th grade class, dead, pimped out, strippers, hookers, pimps shot them, hung themselves. I just was like, I don't want any of this. So, okay, well, I got a little talent here. I got a little talent here. But I think a lot of talent, you're born with some of it, but a lot of it's how much you hustle. Like we were talking about, even the promos, like you're born with some of that, but you can learn a lot of it. And now with like YouTube and like TikTok and Instagram, my God, you can learn how to do anything. You can learn how to do real estate. You can learn how to do this. You can do that, and then go get your license. Like, you can learn how to do print on demand. You can learn how to, there's just so many different niches and this and that's and groups. And I mean, get off your butt and learn something. People are teaching you for free how to do stuff, how to be in 6 figures if you want it. You know what I mean? Like, there's every opportunity is literally at your fingertips these days. It wasn't when we were kids. But there was still ways of figuring things out. It might have come in shapes of the card catalog or the microfiche, but there were definitely resources out there if you went out and hustled. So it's all about the hustling for me.
It seems like not only can you do this, but like you excel. You know what I mean? Like you take it to the next level. You want to be a singer, and you take it to the next level. Like, you seem like, you're very focused, very driven individual.
I've never done any drugs or alcohol. I've never smoked a cigarette. I don't have any kids. I don't have a husband. I date here and there, but like, that's harder to be a complete go-getter if you've got a family and if you've got kids. It's way harder. You got to do your 9 to 5 or do your job or whatever you're doing, and then come home and be exhausted, but still have time for your family. And then if there's a little bit of time, you can make that podcast or that cooking video, or that it's a lot easier for me that I am just completely, I've always known that I wanted to be kind of single, loner, and without kids. Cause I've just got stuff, like I've always known, like I really want to do this. And sometimes you question yourself and you get in your own head. I had a really great coffee date today with one of the production people from our last video, a beautiful guy. He's got a gorgeous girlfriend. It's not like that at all. He's just wonderful. And we just really, what led me into talking about that? What were we talking about right before that? About people
how driven you are.
Yeah, but what were we talking about? Like, he and I were talking about something about being driven. I don't know if he was asking me about all the languages that I speak or just this or that. Poor family, poor neighborhood, wanting to get out of it. There was some reason that I brought him up. Damn it. Video, this and that. Maybe it'll come back to me. Regardless, we had a lovely coffee talk. And why did I bring that up? Damn it. Oh, my brain sometimes. It's like, ding, 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 ding. There was a reason I brought that up, because there was something relevant that happened. Who knows? Maybe we'll circle back. And a shout out to Josh. And I appreciate your time if you see this podcast. But what were you talking about right there? Just being driven, having all kinds of things, languages.
Also, your talent. You persevere. You got out of that bad neighborhood. You didn't want to be stuck. Family.
I guess I just want to do the best that I can with what I have, and I've got the resources to do it. Like, I don't know. I just think every day is such a gift. And like, if you have a talent at something, there's so many people that just give up on stuff. And it's like, again, they give up out of pride, or they give up out of fear. And there's some picture that's always surfacing online, and it's like it's this flat ground, and there's this little tiny bump in the earth, and it's just somebody waiting for the plant to grow, and they're waiting and they're waiting, and they're just like, it's not going to grow. And they walk away, and like underneath the surface, all this stuff is just brewing, and it's just waiting there's some plants that are out there that take forever to germinate. And then all of a sudden, once overnight, they just shoot up into this beautiful tree or plant. And somebody asked me the other day, like, why do you think that you weren't as successful as you could have been? This is a very, very, very famous music producer that was in town. And we were I don't drink, but we were just sitting there. I was drinking my water. And he just asked that question. It didn't bother me, because he is a colleague and he's a friend from a long time. But the answer that I gave, it's probably a little too X-rated for your show, but like, because I don't do a certain thing. And I think that, a lot of girls do that stuff. I don't. But I don't think my time is over yet. And I think that God, the universe, angels, whatever you want to call the supreme being out there, I think that they're waiting for me to just have my shit together so that I can handle it. Because we all see people online. God bless Britney Spears. I mean, that girl just seems batshit crazy.
Yeah, lost her mind. Yeah.
No, you look at her Instagram and you're just like, girl, what do you do? Like, what is this? Like, and the comments used to be in support of her before her conservatorship, whatever it's called, was broken and dissolved. And now the comments are just like, get this girl some mental help. And it's not her fault. Like, look at how she or Michael Jackson or all these people like grew up. Like, we couldn't even pretend to understand what life must have been like for them. Like, that's just a different level and world. And that's not even like, oh, J-Lo, she's famous. Yeah, she's became famous later on. Like, she wasn't just like, you're a child, you're a Selena Gomez, you're Christina Aguilera, you will, you're Michael Jackson. Like, we'll never know what that Janet Jackson, what that life is like, and how to even Macaulay Culkin. You wonder, they all go nuts. Corey Feldman, like, all these kids are all abused, have been raped up the butt their whole life. Like how do you think they even came out at all, or even still alive? Like, you think they just would off themselves like years ago out of massive depression? They're still going. Like, I can't pretend to understand what their life must have been like, but I can keep persevering and know that. That's why things like with Mickie James, like, it really excites me. Like, we're in our 40s, and like, why can't you do stuff in your 50s or in your 60s or your 70s or 80s? Like, as long as you're physically capable of doing something and you've got an audience out there where somebody gives a shit, there's really no rules anymore. Everybody's got a brand. Everybody's got a channel. Everybody's got a this. Everybody's got a that. Sometimes I feel like there's so much noise out there. Like, what am I doing? Who's going to even care about what I have to say? But you can't think of it like that. You have to really enjoy the journey and the process and the trip of it all, and making stuff and creating art. Like, I really do. And not in some like fogey dogy way, like, ooh, I'm an art. Like, come on, you got to make money at stuff. You got to be a business person about it. It's business, right. Music business, entertainment business. You're not just jerking off for your own pleasure. So I love the process of all of this, and it's exciting. And I just wrote up a whole thing and sent it to Mickie, and it's a great poster. It's like, it's real catchy stuff, like Get Wet with Goldy and Mickie and the Goldylocks band. And it's like, the song is called I Didn't Know. It's in the rain. It's going to be a really cool show that we put on, and it just will be fun. And I wouldn't have thought of that when I was 20 years old. I wouldn't have thought of it when I was 30 years old. Like I said, my head was so far up my butt back then. I was just concerned with the wrong stuff. So now I'm a little bit older, wiser, more experienced, and like, I'm a business bitch and I'm digging it. So I think you can be any age to do something great and wonderful. And I'm just happy to still be alive to be able to do it.
Still in your prime, you know what I mean? You still get your
I don't
prime
know about that,
years.
but like, yeah, I know. I'm having a good time.
Yeah. When you're like thinking about like you said, with like your career and all this other stuff, do you want to do even more? Like, do you want to expand even more?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, that's the plan. I want to be like a rock and roll Martha Stewart, Rachel Ray. I would love to be back on television. I would love to be back in wrestling. I'd love to have another show on TLC, like I've always had, Calling the Cheapskates,
Yeah.
or some sort of program that's a little off center, a little gross, entertaining, where you're helping people, but it's funny, you know, because like I said, I've got a good self-esteem. Like, there's recaps of that show, like with 10, 20 million views on it, with 30 to 50,000 comments that just trash me. And I'm just like, I think it's funny. Like, I don't care. Sometimes you get some real mean ones in there, but it's like, how much of a loser are you that you've got time to go on somebody's YouTube page and like comment about me? You know, whatever.
Right,
like,
right,
I'm not
yeah.
commenting about you. I don't even know who you are. I don't care who you are. I never will. I don't give a shit. You know, I care about the people that are saying nice stuff. I go on there and like, hey, find me on social media. Let me send you a free MP3. Like, let me give you a download, or sing you a little song, or do something, like bring you some gratitude if you're just how happy and nice that you were. But I'm just saying, like, this business isn't for the faint of heart. It isn't for the weak of heart. Like, you better just get with the program. Yeah, I get down on some things sometimes, but I yell at myself. I cut a promo on myself and say, bitch, get up and quit feeling sorry for yourself. You have no right. There are people that are going through radiation and chemotherapy today, and you're having a pity party over what? Shut up and go outside and go to the store, compliment somebody that you see, look at something that's beautiful about them, and their eyes or their smile or their hat or their shoes, and tell them that. Make somebody else feel good. And then you do that 2 or 3 times when you're out and about, and all of a sudden you forgot about your own woes and sorrows. You're in a good mood. You're putting off good energy. And then you go do something that's going to better your life. You know, it's something, an idea that you have that might manifest, or a company that you want to start. Maybe it's something small. Maybe you team up with somebody else. I'm so excited to constantly be messaging Mickie like, hey, what about this? What about this? And it's like, it's just, and then, you know, she'll bark back like, I wouldn't do that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, no problem. There's no ego involved. It's creating what's good for the show or the project or the wrestling match or the this or the that. And that's another great thing about wrestling, is so many people that are so talented that are in there. Oh, what about this? What about this? And it's how it should be with writing. It shouldn't be like, oh, that's a terrible idea. It should be like, I don't really like that, but what about this? What about this? Oh, cool. What about that? You know, and just build. Big pot. You start out with your broth. This guy's coming along and he's got some carrots. This person's got some garlic. This person's got some potatoes. Uh-oh, look out. Here comes the beef. You know, boom. All this great stuff where if somebody just had some beef, well, that's all that it would be. It would just be, and it wouldn't be cooked, and it would be raw, and it wouldn't be seasoned. So how good is that? But now you put it in this hot broth, and that's kind of salty. And then these herbs and spices, and then complements of different vegetables. And all of a sudden you've got this amazing stew or soup because everybody contributed. And that's how you just have to look at life, is like, how can you make the most savory stew you possibly can? Who can you surround yourself with that they can throw into the pot to take what you already had? That was good. It's a good slab of beef. But let's just face it, most of us wouldn't want to gnaw on some raw beef. That's, but you get it just right, and it's going to be amazing. It's all because all these people had something to do with it. And how cool is that? That's why I love sitting at the movies for the credits. My dad and I just sit and we scan and we scan and we scan. Oh, do we know this person? Or, oh, that last name looks familiar. Or just all these hundreds of people that contributed and made that beautiful production that you just sat for 2.5 hours and forgot about your problems. Like, wow, Hollywood movies, like, it's mind-boggling. But it's not just those actors. In fact, it's barely them. It's all of these people it's the underwater welders and divers and the people watching the animals, making sure they're okay, and the makeup artists and the special effects and all the AI generated graphics and just all this great stuff, all from the soup, you know? So I just get excited the older that I get to work with better and better people. It's so much fun.
And it's funny, like, as you're saying, then think about it. I remember when you used to do, or I mean, you still do interviews and stuff, but like when you were on Russo's brand doing interviews with Samantha the Bomb back then, she kind of blew up. And it's funny, like just like weird, like all these different little collaborations, like this person from this world, this person, and then it's like, wow, this girl blew up. But you kind of, I don't know about discovered her, but kind of that was where my first experience is like, wow, like who knows who's going to pop up at when people start collaborating together.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think collaboration is just key for everything. It's so, I dig it. So yeah, I was glad to see her just doing her thing, because I remember when I was talking to her, she really wasn't, and we had some great conversations about what if you did this, what if you did that. You just never know what seed was planted where and by whom. It doesn't matter. There's no credit to be taken. It's just nice to see, like I said, that plant just go poof,
Yeah. Yep. Samantha Irvin, of course. I guess she was Samantha the Bomb when she was in The Voice and all that other stuff. But now I guess everybody knows her from WWE as Samantha Irvin.
Yep.
Crazy when that happens, right? I mean, you just see
It
these
is.
people sprout up and pop up, and they become huge stars out of nowhere.
I love it.
Even your boy Vince Russo popping up everywhere. You know what I mean? He's popping up everywhere. So,
He is popping up everywhere. But then again, he's popping everywhere at the gym. He's popping up everywhere with a healthier lifestyle. He's looking really good. He's looking really lean. He's taking care of himself. He's grooming himself like a mother trucker. Like, Vince is looking better than he ever has. So you start putting out those types of vibes, and it's just only elementary that the rest of the universe is going to feel that and be attracted to it. Like, he's doing a really great job. I know he had some health things going on, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to take this bull by the horns and do something about it. And I'm really happy for and proud of him for that.
Yeah, bro.
Still doing the bro.
Obsessed with bro. Yeah, he's obsessed. But as we hit the wind down, we head towards the finish. What is next? What's on the agenda? What's the plan? What do you got coming up?
Well, like I said, John, I wish more than anything that I can get back into the wrestling business. So always putting that feeler out there, that vibe, continuing. We've finished, we've got 10 new songs. So excited. They're all rocking. We've got a great band. Rod Saylor is our drummer. Johnny Oro is our guitarist. He writes some mean yet tasty riffs and licks. It's such a pleasure to play with these guys. We'll be touring more and more fairs, more festivals. We'll get these 10 songs that will be released throughout the year. We've got 4 new music videos that are just killer. One is out right now. I didn't know. Please go watch it on YouTube and drop a comment. Oh my God, please leave the comment. That means everything, and it bumps up our algorithm. And it's like a virtual forever guest list that you signed. Stream it. And then we've got another incredible video coming out on the heels of that called Talking to Myself. It's a really rock song. You'll dig it. It's really cool. We filmed it at an insane asylum in Harriman, Tennessee. Incredible haunted hospital. Super cool. It's a badass video. We've got another one called Heat of the Moment. We've got another one after that called You'll Always Be Remembered. It's a rock ballad, and it just is a tribute to everyone that you love who has already passed on and gone forward, but we want to remember them and just celebrate how epic that they are. And then we've got another one called Unholy. It's kind of interesting with our Catholic upbringing, but that one will be it'll be a cross between the first Friday the 13th and Carrie. So it is a horror movie, mini movie, thriller in a music video, and it'll be a long one, but it's going to be badass. So I'm still a ways off saving to fund for that one, but I can't wait for that too.
Any more collaborations with Mickie? I know obviously you said you guys
want to do sure hope so.
Stuff.
Oh, I sure hope so. Any chance that I get, I would snag her in a heartbeat.
Remember that song that she had, Hardcore Country? That always stuck
in my
head. Hardcore Country.
That's one of the songs that we'll be singing at our 90-minute show that we're doing at upcoming conventions. It would be Hardcore Country. And some of the entrance stuff that I got. I did Trinity. I did, what's Lisa Marie's what was her work shoot name?
Tara?
Yeah, I did Tara's. I did America's Most Wanted. I did Dixie Carter's theme song. I did everybody's. So we'll be definitely singing some of those. That'd be great.
I feel like TNA always goes back and they'll talk about their past, but they'll Chris Harris, they'll bring him back on the show. I feel like, why not Goldylocks? I mean, if you're bringing back all these people that were a part of the original TNA, I mean, you're TNA wrestling again. There's no more Impact.
Because I probably have some heat with people here and there. Once they can look past 22 freaking years and get over it. I don't think I have too much heat anymore. But come on, guys. Whatever crap happened back in the day, it's 22 years ago. If you're still camping out on that, then I might not want to even be around you if you're that petty. But I think I'm cool. I think everybody's pretty good there. There's such new blood, or everybody's over at AEW now and they forgot about little old me. But
yeah,
I would just so love to come back when the time is right. It'll happen. You never push stuff or square peg, into a round hole. You do what you can do. You wake up every day, you do the best job that you can. You be grateful for your opportunity of life every day that you wake up. You're like, oh my God, I wake up. Like when you wake up from anesthesia and you're like, you don't quite remember what happened. Like every day you wake up out of your dream, or if you don't sleep well at night, you still nod off for a little while. And like what a gift it is every day that you get to just live your life. And if yesterday was shitty or sucked, or you were depressed or suicidal or whatever you were, like whatever that looks like, because I know a lot of people get really down around the holidays, like it's a new day. And if you need to move, then move. Or if you need to pretend that you moved and just cut off ties with some negative, toxic people in your life, then do that. Like it's all you have all of the power. How you feel, if you're letting somebody else affect that, then that's on you. Because at the end of the day, the only person that you really have control over is yourself, So practice that. Practice control over yourself. We've got a lot of people, our patrons on our Patreon, patreon.com/Goldylocks. They're deleting some apps off their phone. Like they just can't handle it anymore. Twitter for some, this for that. It's just some people it's after the election or this or that, or they just get too bombarded with stuff they don't want to see and they just delete their stuff. But they come over to our Patreon. It's like a really nice, safe space. And every day I try to give certain people a message, or just an attaboy or attagirl, or a pat on the back, or they share private things or things they wouldn't tell anybody else. It's just a very safe place. And I just think like how lucky, like it's a new day. You deleted your stuff. Okay, that's good. And then come back to Instagram or Facebook when you're ready. But if you need to dip out from things for a while, then do it. You're in control of yourself. You know what you need to do so that mentally you're having a good day. And that might be just not even talking to some people anymore, John. Like there's those people that we love them, but just God, every time you get them on the phone, it's like, oh,
too negative.
Need a shower. Like I got one friend, I love them to death, but like, Jesus Christ, do you have anything good to say about anyone or anything or yourself? Or everything is just hell in a handbasket and going down I'm like, God, you're just sucking the life out of me. Like I keep it real short and sweet, and I try to like make jokes, but like ain't nobody got time for that, as that one lady said.
Too negative, yeah.
It's too negative. Like, come on, what are you doing that's good? What are you doing that you're excited about? What's something that you heard that's great? How about something that happened to somebody that you're like, oh man, they won the lottery, or they got that promotion? Like, man, I hope that happens for me soon. Or I would sure like it if that happened for me. I wonder what I need to do to make that happen. Or I'd like to ask them, how did you do that? Like, you don't need to be jealous or envious of people. Like, go ask them. Most people will be more than happy, unless they're just cunts and they don't want to tell you anything. Most people will tell you if you ask them.
Right. Yeah, I have a friend of mine. He's so negative about everything. I'm like, oh, wrestling. They had 5 million viewers on Netflix. Oh, but it wasn't 6 million. I'm like, oh my God, like too negative. Like, oh my God, you can't deal with people like that. You need some more positivity.
No, and you gotta love them for who they are, but like cut yourself off and give yourself boundaries and say, oh, I'm only going to talk to Joe Blow like one day a week. Or
right.
You can't just completely cut some people and family out of your life, but you can sure as hell limit it, John.
Good point. Goldie, great lesson here at the end. Thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it. And everybody needs to check out you and Mickie.
I can't wait. And John, please let me know when this is going to be out ahead of time so that I can put it on the calendar and make sure that I've got time. That, of course, I'll have time, but just make sure I give it ample time, undivided attention to promoting your show.
You got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it,
Goldie. Thank you. Have a great night. Great weekend.